this is Marie, and welcome to Marie's Chatty Tarot. And today we're going to be talking about the JFK senior files that the National Archive has released a few days ago. And now, before we get started any further, please feel free to share, like, and subscribe. And I do want, for those interested, point out that the tarot deck that I'm using today is called the Wiser Tarot. It's a pretty cool deck. Got it not too long ago and I've been using it. Love it. Similar to the Rider Waite. Difference is that now it's more inclusive. Yada yada yada. So a few days ago, the National Archive released more of the JFK file pertaining to his assassination, and I think those files has been under lock and key for a very long time. I think many people have tried to do a FOIA request to get those information, never to be seen until recently. And now the question that I have for the cards is, why now? You know, is it because a lot of the actors that were involved passed away? Did they go to jail? Was justice served? Or is it because it's been so long at this point that, you know, the players are no longer playing the game and that it's okay to share what's going on? So those are the questions that we have. Now, side notes, I do want to point out that it was during this assassination of JFK that a lot of people have woken up. That's where citizen journalists start digging up about the JFK senior assassination, and in order to combat the research that was coming out from those citizen journalists, that the CIA coined the term conspiracy theorists. This is where that word came about, and it was an attempt from the CIA, the government, whichever you want to call, to discredit people who were trying to find the truth. Now, moving forward, it's so interesting that it's that same government that's still calling, you know, people who are trying to get the truth, either anons or citizen journalists, they're still using that word. And every time, and the media uses as well to discredit whoever is trying to come out with the truth, come up with valid facts, information, or correlations. So just wanted to put this out there. And I also want to thank you, those citizen journalists from way back then who have been trying to wake up to people, wake up the world to what's been going on. And a lot of them have been hurt, attacked, discredited, and I appreciate your sacrifice. I appreciate, you know, your tenacity in putting the word, the truth, this alternative truth out there for people like us to see. So now that I think it's come to everybody's purview that there is a cabal, there is a group of people that are doing bad things to people who trying to change the world for the better. Let's leave it at that, right? So let's see what the cards want to say about those JFK files. Now, there has been some articles out there and who have already dived into those files, and they have already hinted that the CIA had a lot to do, like from what they've researched so far. Now, if you're interested about looking at those files yourself, you're welcome to go to my Telegram channel, Marie's Chatty Tarot, of course, and you can take a deep dive. I have not had the chance to look into it because it's a pretty big file, but I do want to ask the questions. Why now? Why now is the National Archive releasing those JFK files? Why now? cards. Okay, so the first card is Page of One. Second card to represent Two of Swords situation. Recent past is the Queen of Swords. Present, Six of Swords. Outcome is Five of Swords. King of Cups as clarification. And Five of Wands as clarification. So first thing that jumped at me looking at this spread, right, is all those sword cards on the spread. So that's pretty interesting. Okay, so there's so much messages going on here, and I'm gonna try to do it justice. The first card is the Page of Wands. So Page of Wands is a message. So as if to let us know, so whoever is, let's say if there was a conflict going on, there was a group of people, good people, and they wanted to send a message, that will be another way of sending a message to a group of people. Now the message can have two intents, one for the general population, but also the other, the purpose could have two purposes. One purpose is to share that information with the population, but that message could be also to shed light, because you know the one Page is a messenger, and Page the one is fire, inspiration, shedding light on something, you know, keep the fire going, in a very subtle way, in a very you know, every time that I see the Page for the last 2 years, that's how information has been coming down, trickling down, drop by drop, in order for the people to absorb. And every time big information has been coming out, it's always been the Page. Now the file itself is a big file. It's a big deal, you know, but it's been the information about who the cabal is, who's those group of people, has been trickling down little by little. So they've been showing what's going on in the pharmaceutical industry. They've been showing on what's going on with the industrial complex, with the Republican, with the this and that. So they've been exposing little by little. They've been like chipping cracks at this group. So this is the same thing, you know, death by a thousand cuts. That's what I think when I see of this Page. So, you know, what makes a storm? It's a combination of all those little droplets, of those little droplets of snows, or little, you know, that makes the whole storm. So this is kind of one of it. So they're putting information little by little, small bite, but when you combine everything as a whole, it's a big deal. So this is like a message, a small message, to let, you know, people who are in the research community, people who are in the know, to not only to stay motivated and not to be too restless, something to keep them, to let them know that there is this group of people that is working in the background. So if you are feeling restless or frustrated, this is as if a message to let, you know, from that group, not to do anything foolish, to stay put. So this is interesting. Now, the recent past with the Queen of Swords, that tells me that that information about JFK people who have done research have connected the dot, have known about this, CIA being involved. Those who know pretty much knows. But what's interesting with that six of swords in the present, it tells me that information was released. That information was released so that it could be exposed, it could be put out there. Now, obviously, there's always going to be a group of people who's not going to want to know the truth. There's nothing we can do about them. However, the outcome has been the purpose of releasing that file, that JFK file about his assassination and whatnot, and involvement of the CIA, has been to shake some trees, pretty much. And whose trees? Because apparently there are still players at play. So this was an attempt to rattle them out, to let them know that we're on to you, to that particular group. Let's call them the bad guy. If there is, again, all this is hypothetical. So not only to rattle them or to expose them, but also for the world to see who these people are, manipulators. Because this King of Cups for me is always a person who can be kind, who can be gentle, but in the flip side is somebody who's very good at manipulating others, manipulating somebody's emotion, either through propaganda or through blackmail or whatever. He's a master of manipulation, a master of secrets, and it's very convoluted. So this is what this card is telling me, that it's the release of that information with that Six of Swords, not only to expose, to put it out in the world, that if you had doubts, but now the proof is there in those files, right? If you have time to cipher through them, and to expose, to put them on notice that we're looking at you, right? If there are any players left. And in doing that, there's going to be some infighting within that group. I don't know, whatever's left of the CIA or whatever left of the people that were involved or still involved in deciding what's going on in our governments. So now I'm going to put in 2 more cards. So that's interesting. So 2 more cards. So because of this, I put in 2 more cards to get a little bit more clarification. And the first card that comes out is the Hierophant. So the Hierophant is usually how you express yourself, but it could be a bad guy card because the Vatican and all that. So that's another way of looking at it. It could be a card of being educated. It could be a card of organized religion. It could also be a card about the bad guys. And the bad guys have been very much part of the Vatican for a very long time. So it's basically now, it's to show us that they are not that much at an advantage. They are in a disadvantage because now they are, the bad guys, if there is any, are in a defensive position where they're forced to defend. They're forced to be on guard. They're forced to, because they're no longer in power. So this is a signal by releasing this information to, if you were a person in the community that does research, to stay put. And, that information has been along for a very long time. But now that's been released, is to put on notice the bad guys, that you've been caught, that you're being exposed, and that, the world is looking at you. There's no hiding for you. And as a result, the bad guys are going to be fighting with each other. It's going to cause some infighting, some friction, some discomfort, because, they're being exposed. What do you do? So the world will see the bad guy, who the bad guys are, if there is any, quote unquote. And that's going to force them to either double down or to try to be on the defensive or trying to make a last stand. So, wow, this is such an interesting spread. Wow. Thank you guys for sticking with me to the end of this video. That is so cool. Feel free to share, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.